Hey guys, so we're back and we're going to use one more method for solving quadratics. We are going to use the quadratic formula. So as you can see here, the quadratic formula is x is equal to the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You can actually say everything I just said to the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel, so it'll make it easy to remember, but I'm not going to sing it for you here. If you want to hear me sing it, ask me in class. So the first thing we need to do is to go ahead and practice writing our equations in standard form and listing the a, b, and c values. So for number one, we have most of it on the right side. So let's move this 18 over. And that's going to give us negative p squared plus p minus 18 equals 0. So that's not too difficult. Our a is negative 1. Our b is 1, and our c is negative 18. So if we wanted to plug that one into our quadratic formula just to set it up, we're going to change p for x. So we're going to have p is equal to the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. That is not difficult because if you have a calculator handy, pretty much any calculator, you can go ahead and just run this through. You just have to do it twice because of that plus and minus in the middle. We're not going to solve this one right now. We'll solve another one later. So number 2, we have 2x squared plus 28 minus 5x equals 0. So this one we're just going to have to rearrange. 2x squared minus 5x plus 28 equals 0. And that gives us a is 2, b is negative 5, and c is 28. And again, we can plug that into the quadratic formula easily enough, the way we did number 1. Let's go ahead and set up number 3, negative 6m from both sides because we need everything together. So that gives me 3m squared minus 6m minus 10 equals 0, giving me an a of 3, an b of negative 6, and a c of negative 10. And we can plug that one into quadratic formula as well. We have a couple more examples we're going to do. Fairly simple, plugging them in. So here I have 4x squared plus 4x plus 1 equals 0. That is already in standard form. So our a is 4, our b is 4, and our c is 1. And it just wants us to set up the quadratic formula for this one. So let's go ahead and do that. We have x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, that's all we have to do there. Now for number 5, we're going to have to set this up in standard form. So I need to subtract 25 from both sides. That's going to give me 4x squared minus 25 equals 0. If you were solving by factoring, this would be really easy, but we're not doing that. We are setting up the quadratic formula. So I have a is 4, b is 0, and c is negative 25. And again, we're going to have x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all of that over 2a. Not too difficult. So let's go ahead and solve these two examples using the quadratic formula. So we have x squared minus 11x minus 10. Again, we need to set it up in standard form, so we're going to add 10 to both sides. And that gives me x squared minus 11x plus 10 equals 0. First step, always, always, always make your list. A, B, and C. Our A is 1, B is negative 11, and our C is 10. Set it up in your quadratic formula. X equals the opposite of B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. And we can do this by hand because we have the opposite of 11 or of negative 11 is 11 plus or minus square root. Negative 11 squared is 121. 4 times 1 times 10 is 40. And that's going to be all over 2. Okay, so that's going to give me x equals 11 plus or minus 80, square root of 81, because 121 minus 40 is 81 over 2. And then finally, we're going to have 11 plus or minus 9, because the square root of 81 is 9, all divided by 2. So that gives me x equals 11 plus 9 is 20 over 2. 11 minus 9 is 2 over 2. So my answers are 1 and 10. Because 2 divided by 2 is 1 and 20 divided by 2 is 10. So let's go ahead and do this other example. We have 4s squared equals negative 36s. Okay, so what we're going to do is rewrite it in standard form. So that's going to give me 4s squared plus 36s. And although we don't need to, I'm going to go ahead and write the 0. So our A is 4, our B is 36, and our C is 0. So we're going to go ahead and put this into our quadratic formula. X equals the opposite of B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4A and C, all of that over 2 times A. Now, if you look at this, it looks like it might be pretty difficult because 36 squared is going to be a higher number. But notice what we have here. We have 4 times 4 times 0. Anything times 0 is 0. So this ends up simplifying to x equals negative 36 plus or minus the square root of 36 squared minus 0 over 2a. So we're going to have our next part, negative 36 plus or minus the square root of 36 squared, and that's over 8. And the square root of 36 squared is just 36. So we have negative 36 plus or minus 36 over 8. And so we're going to go ahead and do that. So we have negative 36 plus 36 is 0 over 8. And negative 36 minus 36 is going to give me negative 72 over 8. Now, 0 over 8 is just 0. And I'm going to write it second because I already can tell that it's going to be my higher number. Negative 72 divided by 8 is negative 9. And so those are our answers, negative 9 and 0. And it's pretty simple. Now, when you're putting them into your calculator, just make sure you're being careful. Sometimes the calculator won't recognize certain keystrokes that you make. It may be better to go ahead and do each part on your own and then simplify it as you go, but that does depend on the calculator. So that's all there is for this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below. And feel free to like and subscribe if you want to hear when I put up new videos. And I will see you again later. Bye.